Hi, I'm Christina Whitney, a studio educator with Handi Quilter. I would like to share with you the Paisley Template today. So let's take a look at it. So the Paisley Template is pretty self-explanatory. It's the shape of a paisley. The part that might be a little bit confusing at the beginning are the marks that are on the paisley ruler, but they're really exciting to use. So you'll notice we have lines coming through, intersecting, through this center point, and that's where your needle goes when it's in this little edge of the paisley. If you wanted to use the center point of the actual top of the paisley, we've also got grid lines coming through here for that center point. So if you look here, I had an X drawn through my quilt, and I started with the center point. And again, we talked about these markings here. I lined up those markings so that they lined up with the mark I'd drawn on my quilt, going horizontally and vertically. And then stitched all the way around there, rotated around, stitched the other side, and I'm going to show you how to stitch the next one. Before we do that though, I want to make sure that we have our ruler base on our machine. So you can feel that ruler base, see how much extra table space you have on there. And I also have a surefoot on here. Now the surefoot's important because it has that higher profile, which helps protect you from damaging your machine with the ruler hopping over. Okay, this template has a notch in it. To be able to get to the inside of the ruler, make sure your needle is in the up position, and then you're just going to slide it over the top. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and bring my machine to my center point, pull up my bobbin, and I also made sure that I put handy grip on my ruler ahead of time. That will keep the ruler from shifting around. Okay, now I'm lining up this line that's going through the middle of the ruler with the line that I had drawn. It's pretty faint right now. And then same thing going down. So I've got my ruler in position, and we're going to start stitching around. You want to make sure you hug the side of the ruler and change your hand position as necessary. Now as we're coming back up into that point, this part of the ruler isn't connected to each other, so one side might try to flop up. So it's important that you hold both sides of the ruler as you come back to that point. Again, make sure the needle is up to take the ruler off. And there you can see our paisley in a windmill shape. Okay, we're going to do a similar pattern that looks completely different, but it's the same concept. We're going to have our crosshair here, our horizontal and vertical, and this time when we put the ruler down, we're going to have that center point be the center point of the top of this paisley. So I'm going to use these lines going across, line those up with the line I have drawn on my quilt, going up and down. We're going to have it lined up, and then I start stitching around, and I actually overstitched a little bit, and then that way I could rotate the ruler to the next position without having to snip my threads. Get it lined up, stitch the next section, travel it around again, and just keep rotating around. And look what a different design you get, kind of a ninja star compared to more of this whimsical windmill. Okay, over here, this doesn't even look like a paisley if you're looking at it straight on. So let me show you how we got that design. We're going to do some creative use of the ruler today. So I put the ruler down, I had a line drawn straight down the middle, stitched out one paisley, and then watch what I did. I'm actually going to flip the ruler upside down, which we don't normally do, but I wanted to get that opposite shape, and then I stitched the other one. Then I'm going to flip it back over, shift it over to this next section, stitch out one more paisley, flip it over one more time, and get that last paisley. And it gives you these different sections, and you can go back in and do any kind of fill work in there that you want to. So that's a fun one. This next design, our Yin and Yang, I wanted to make sure that it was flowing in the proper direction, which meant that I had to do it with the ruler upside down. So my handy grip is actually on the top of my ruler, and the words are facing down. So I did one side, and then flipped it around, and did the other side. Okay, let's look at this design here. It's a variation of a clamshell. You'll notice I don't have half circles. I kind of have this part of a paisley shape. So what I did was I used the markings on the ruler that goes through the center of that top point, put that on my line that I have on my quilt, and I just stitched along just a portion of the ruler. So that's a fun thing with doing rulers, is that you don't have to use the entire ruler. You can pick parts out of that ruler to get different designs. Okay, let's move on to our last design for this ruler. And there's been some disagreement as to the name of this ruler. Some want Batman, some want mustache. We've heard Viking helmet. So if you're doing a masculine quilt, this is always going to be a fun border. But this one, I drew some markings on my quilt top, drew one paisley shape, and again, flipping the ruler upside down to get the other side. And it just makes kind of this circular shape where they connect in. And I did the same thing here, but just upside down. So alternating back and forth. So the Paisley template is a great template to use. Lots of fun. Come up with many, many, many different designs and have fun with it.